My name is Colin Mackenzie. I'm 71 years old. For the past 38 years, I've lived alone in a small cottage on the shore of Loch Ness. I have no phone, no internet, no connection to the outside world beyond the supplies I buy once a month from the village shop in Drumnadroshit. People think I'm a hermit, a recluse, maybe mentally ill. The locals have stories about me. The strange man who lives by the water, who spends his nights watching the loch, who never speaks about his past, who abandoned a wife and 2 children in 1986 and never looked back. All of those stories are true, but none of them explain why. None of them tell you what I'm protecting, what I've dedicated more than half my life to guarding, what I discovered in the summer of 1985 that made me walk away from everything I knew and loved. I'm recording this confession because I'm dying. Lung cancer. The doctors in Inverness give me 6 months, maybe less. And when I'm gone, there will be no one left to watch over it. No one left to keep it safe. No one left who understands what's really in the deep water of this loch. So I'm telling my story. Not because I expect you to believe me. Not because I think it will change anything. But because after 38 years of silence, of isolation, of watching and waiting and protecting, someone needs to know why I made the choice I made. Why I gave up my family, my career, my entire life. In 1985, I was a commercial diver, one of the best in Scotland. I'd worked on North Sea oil rigs, underwater construction projects, salvage operations. I was 33 years old, married to Janet, had 2 daughters, Emma and Claire, aged 7 and 5. We lived in Aberdeen, had a nice house, a good life, everything a man could want. Then I took a job at Loch Ness. A routine survey. Nothing dangerous. Nothing unusual. Just a week of underwater inspection work for a research company. Easy money. Close to home. I told Janet I'd be back in 7 days. I never went back. Not to her. Not to my daughters. Not to the life I'd built. Because in that week, I met something in the depths of Loch Ness. And once you meet it, once it chooses you, there's no going back. There's only the watch, the guard, the protection. Before I explain what I found, what I encountered, what changed me so completely that I could abandon my own children, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Make sure my confession reaches as many people as possible. Because when I'm gone, this creature will be vulnerable. And someone needs to understand what I've been protecting. What needs to continue being protected. This isn't a monster story. This isn't about proving something exists. This is about why one man chose to dedicate his entire life to guarding something most people don't believe in. And why, even now, dying and alone, I have no regrets about the choice I made. The company that hired me was called Aquatech Solutions. They'd been contracted to do underwater surveys of the loch bed for a geological study. My job was simple. Descend to various depths. Take photographs. Collect sediment samples. Document any unusual features. Standard work. I'd done it hundreds of times before. The first 3 days were uneventful. The loch is dark, cold. Even in summer, the water temperature drops to near freezing below 50 feet. Visibility is poor because of the peat in the water. But I was experienced, had good equipment, No problems. On the fourth day, they sent me to a deeper section. Near Urquhart Bay. The bed drops off sharply there. Goes from 200 feet to over 700 in a very short distance. They wanted photographs of the drop-off. Wanted to document the geological formation. I descended slowly, following the slope down. At 300 feet, I noticed something odd. A change in the water. Not temperature. Not visibility. Something else. A feeling. Like I was being watched. Like something was aware of me. I've been diving for 15 years. I know the difference between imagination and instinct. And my instinct was screaming at me. Something was down here. Something large. Something that was paying attention to me. I continued down. Reached 400 feet. The slope leveled out slightly. And that's when I saw it. In the beam of my light. A shape. Massive. Moving slowly through the water about 50 yards away. At first, I thought it was a submarine. Had to be. Nothing alive could be that large. But then it moved. Not mechanically. Organically. Smoothly. Like a living thing. And I realized what I was looking at. The creature. The thing people had been reporting for decades. The Loch Ness Monster. It was real. It was right there. And it was moving directly toward me. I should have panicked. Should have started ascending immediately. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because the way it moved, the way it approached, there was no aggression in it. No threat. Just curiosity. Like it wanted to see what I was. Who I was. It came within 20 feet. Close enough that my light illuminated its skin. Dark. Almost black. Textured like a dolphin's skin but rougher. The body was enormous. 40 feet long at least. Maybe more. I could see flippers. 4 of them. Powerful. Built for moving through water. And a neck. Long, thick. Extending from the body in a graceful curve. The head turned toward me. Eyes. Large. Dark. Intelligent. Looking directly at me through my mask. And I felt something. Not fear. Not even awe. Something else. Connection. Recognition. Like it was seeing into me. Understanding me. Evaluating me. We stayed like that for what felt like an eternity but was probably only 30 seconds. And then it moved away. Slowly. Deliberately. Disappearing back into the darkness of the loch. I surfaced. Tried to explain to the surface crew what I'd seen. They thought I was experiencing nitrogen narcosis. The rapture of the deep. Hallucinations caused by breathing compressed air at extreme depth. They brought me up. Made me rest. Told me I'd imagined it. But I knew I hadn't. I knew what I'd seen was real. And more than that, I knew something else. Something I couldn't explain. The creature had chosen me for something. Had looked at me and made a decision. And my life would never be the same. I went back down the next day. Same location. Same depth. I told the surface crew I wanted to finish documenting the drop-off. But that was a lie. I wanted to see it again. Needed to see it again. I descended to 400 feet. Waited. And it came. Like it had been expecting me. Like it knew I would return. This time it came closer. Within 10 feet. Close enough that I could see details. The texture of the skin. The way the flippers moved. The intelligence in those eyes. And close enough that I could feel something else. A vibration. Low frequency. Below the range of human hearing, but felt in my chest. In my bones. It was vocalizing. Communicating. Not with sound that I could hear, but with something else. Infrasound. Pressure waves. And somehow, impossibly, I understood what it was saying. Not in words, but in concepts. In feelings. In pure meaning that bypassed language entirely. It was asking me something. Asking if I understood. If I could sense what it was trying to communicate. And I found myself responding. Not speaking, but thinking. Projecting thoughts or emotions or something. And it heard me. Understood me. We communicated like that for nearly an hour. At 400 feet. In water so cold and dark it should have been terrifying. But it wasn't. It was the most profound experience of my life. More meaningful than my wedding day. More important than the birth of my daughters. This connection with something ancient. Something intelligent. Something that had chosen me for reasons I didn't yet understand. When it finally left, when it moved back into the depths, I knew 3 things with absolute certainty. First, the creature was not alone. There were others. A family or pod. Living in the deep places of the loch. Second, they were endangered. Not by natural predators, but by humans. By discovery. By the inevitable exploitation that would come if their existence was proven. And third, they needed protection. They needed someone who understood. Who could watch. Who could warn them of danger. They needed a guardian. And somehow, in that underwater meeting, I had been chosen for that role. I surfaced. Completed my work for Aquatech. Collected my pay. Went home to Aberdeen. To Janet and Emma and Claire. And I tried to go back to normal life. Tried to pretend nothing had changed. Tried to be the husband and father they deserved. But I couldn't. Every night I dreamed of the creature. Of those eyes looking at me. Of the connection we'd made. And every morning I woke up knowing I had to go back. Had to return to Loch Ness. Had to fulfill the role I'd been chosen for. 3 months later, I made my decision. I told Janet I was leaving. Didn't explain why. Couldn't explain why. How do you tell your wife you're abandoning your family to protect a creature most people don't believe exists? How do you make her understand that you've been chosen for something more important than marriage or fatherhood? You can't. So I just left. Packed a bag. Drove to Loch Ness. Found a cottage for rent on the shore. And I began my watch. My guard. My protection of something the world would never understand. If you're still listening, if you're still trying to understand why someone would make this choice, then you need to hear what comes next. You need to know what I learned in those first years of watching. What the creature taught me. Why protecting it became more important than anything else in my life. Subscribe to this channel. Share this confession. Because what I'm about to reveal, the bond one formed with the creature, it's unlike anything you've ever heard. And it explains everything. Why I stayed. Why I watched. Why I gave up everything for something most people think is a myth. The creature isn't just intelligent. It's connected to something larger, something older. And protecting it means protecting something far more important than one species in one Scottish loch. The first year was the hardest. Living alone. Watching the loch every day. Knowing that just miles away, my daughters were growing up without me. That Janet was trying to explain to them why their father had left. That I was being remembered as the man who abandoned his family for no reason. But I couldn't go back. Because I'd made a commitment. Not to Janet. Not to my children. But to something that had existed long before I was born and would exist long after I died. And that commitment, that bond, it was stronger than any human relationship I'd ever known. The creature came to me regularly. Not every day. But often enough that I learned its patterns. Its behaviors. When it would surface. When it would stay deep. How it communicated with the others. How it watched over them. And slowly, over months and years, it taught me things. Not through language. Through that same method of communication we'd established during our first meetings. Infrasound. Emotional projection. Pure transfer of meaning. I learned that the creatures had been in Loch Ness for thousands of years. Long before humans built settlements on the shores. Long before the loch even existed in its current form. They'd adapted. Changed. Survived through ice ages and climate shifts and geological transformations that would have destroyed most species. I learned that they were the last of their kind. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, their species had been widespread, living in deep waters around the world. But they'd been hunted, killed, driven to near extinction by something. Not humans. Something else. Something older. And now only this small population remained. Hidden in the depths of Loch Ness. Protected by the dark water and the isolation. I learned that they were aware of humans. Had been watching us for centuries. Saw our boats. Heard our sonar. Knew when people were looking for them. And they developed strategies for hiding. For avoiding detection. For staying safe in a world that would capture or kill them if their existence was proven. And I learned that they needed help. Not from governments or scientists or research organizations. But from one person. Someone they could trust. Someone who understood. Someone who would watch for threats. Warn them of danger. Keep them safe. That was my role. That's what I'd been chosen for. And once I understood that, once I accepted the responsibility, I knew I could never leave. Could never go back to my old life. Because the creatures depended on me. And that dependence was more important than anything else. People think I'm crazy. Think I abandoned my family for a delusion. But they don't understand. They've never felt what I've felt. Never experienced the bond one have with these creatures. Never known what it's like to be chosen for something that matters more than individual happiness or family obligations. I've watched over them for 38 years. Warned them when boats came too close. When expeditions brought equipment that could detect them. When researchers got too near to the truth. I've been their guardian. Their protector. Their connection to the human world that wants to find them. And in return, they've given me purpose. Meaning. A reason to exist that goes beyond personal fulfillment or social expectations. They've made my life matter in ways that being a husband or father never could. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like I'm justifying abandoning my family, but it's the truth. The bond one have with these creatures, the responsibility I carry, it's more important than human relationships. More important than anything. Over 38 years, I've stopped 17 expeditions. Not obviously, not directly, but through subtle interventions that kept the creatures safe. There was a research team in 1991. They brought sophisticated sonar equipment. The kind that could map the entire loch bed in detail. The kind that would have detected the creatures in their deep water refuges. I sabotaged their equipment. Made it look like a malfunction. They left after 2 weeks of useless data. There was a documentary crew in 1998. They had underwater cameras. Plans to film at depths where the creatures lived. I convinced the local boat operators not to take them to certain locations. Spread rumors about dangerous currents and equipment failures. They got frustrated and left without the footage they wanted. There was a wealthy American in 2005. He funded a private expedition. Wanted to prove the monster existed. Brought millions of pounds worth of equipment. I watched him for 3 months. And on the nights when the creatures needed to surface, when they needed to breathe and feed in the shallow waters, I created disturbances. Made noise. Lit flares. Drove them away from where his cameras were positioned. He never got his proof. Never captured the definitive evidence he was looking for. And he never knew that someone was actively preventing his success. That's been my life for 38 years. Watching. Protecting. Interfering. Making sure that anyone who gets too close to the truth is turned away before they can reveal it. Making sure the creatures remain hidden. Remain safe. But it's getting harder. Technology improves. Methods become more sophisticated. Sonar becomes more sensitive. Cameras become more advanced. And I'm getting older. Slower. Less capable of the interventions that used to be easy. Last year, a new expedition arrived. Government funded. Official. With equipment I've never seen before. Quantum sensors. AI-analyzed sonar. Deep water drones that can operate autonomously for weeks. The kind of technology that can't be easily sabotaged or misdirected. I did what I could, but it wasn't enough. They detected something. Got readings that suggested large animate objects in the deep water. Started planning follow-up surveys. More intensive investigations. They're coming back this summer. With more equipment. More funding. More determination. And I won't be here to stop them. I'll be dead. Or dying. Unable to protect the creatures that trusted me. Unable to fulfill the responsibility I was given 38 years ago. That's why I'm recording this. Why I'm confessing everything. Because someone needs to continue the work. Someone needs to take over the watch. Someone needs to protect them when I'm gone. I abandoned my family for this. Gave up my daughters. My wife. My entire life. And I did it because the bond one felt, the responsibility I carried, it was more important than anything else. I need someone to understand that. I need someone to feel what I felt. To accept the same responsibility. To become the next guardian. Because the creatures are still here. Still vulnerable. Still in need of protection. And when I die, they'll have no one. Unless someone steps forward. Unless someone chooses to do what I did. To give up everything for something most people will never believe in. Is that you? Are you willing to abandon your life for this? Are you ready to make the same sacrifice I made? The creatures are waiting, and time is running out. I need to tell you something I've never told anyone. Something the creatures revealed to me over years of communication. Something that explains why protecting them is so important. Why I could justify abandoning my family for this responsibility. The creatures aren't just animals. They're not simply an unknown species surviving in isolation. They're repositories, living archives, carriers of something humanity has lost and desperately needs. It took me 5 years to understand this. 5 years of daily communication, of learning their language, of earning their complete trust. But eventually, they showed me, not through words or images, through something deeper, through direct transfer of knowledge, memory, understanding. The creatures have been on this planet for millions of years. They've witnessed the rise and fall of countless species, countless civilizations. They've survived 5 major extinction events, adapted through ice ages, through continental shifts, through climate changes that destroyed everything else. And throughout all of that time, they've been doing something remarkable. They've been remembering, recording, preserving every significant event, every species that achieved intelligence, every civilization that rose and fell. They hold it all, stored in their minds in ways we don't understand, passed down through generations. A living memory that spans geological time. They showed me things, events from thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands, images and sensations and knowledge of worlds that existed before recorded human history, civilizations that built and dreamed and discovered and then vanished, all preserved in the collective memory of these creatures. They're not just survivors. They're witnesses, historians, guardians of planetary memory. And if they die, if they're captured or killed or driven to extinction, all of that knowledge dies with them. Millions of years of history. Gone. Lost forever. That's why I stayed. That's why I could abandon my daughters. Because protecting these creatures isn't just about preserving one species. It's about preserving the memory of everything that's ever lived on this planet. Everything that's ever achieved consciousness. Everything that matters. My family, my individual happiness, my personal relationships, they're insignificant compared to that. One human lifetime versus millions of years of accumulated knowledge. There's no comparison. No choice. Only the obvious decision to protect something infinitely more valuable than myself. I know that sounds cold. Sounds like I'm devaluing human life. Devaluing love and family and all the things we're supposed to cherish. But you have to understand the scale of what I'm protecting. The magnitude of what would be lost if these creatures disappeared. They trusted me with this knowledge. Showed me what they are. What they carry. And in doing so, they made me responsible not just for their survival, but for the survival of all that accumulated memory. All that preserved history. That's the bond one have with them. Not just affection or fascination or even duty. It's stewardship. I'm protecting something that belongs to the entire planet. To every species that's ever lived. To every civilization that's ever existed. And when I die, when I'm gone, that stewardship passes to someone else. Or it ends. And millions of years of memory die with these creatures. You need to understand that. You need to feel the weight of that responsibility. Because what comes next, what I'm about to reveal, it makes the stakes even higher. The creatures are dying. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But slowly. Inevitably. And I've watched it happen over 38 years. When I first met them in 1985, there were 12 individuals in the loch. A healthy population. Breeding successfully. Thriving despite the isolation. But the population has been declining. Not from old age or disease. From something else. The water is changing. The loch is changing. Pollution. Climate change. Chemical runoff from farms and industry. Things that wouldn't kill them outright, but that accumulate over time. That weaken them. That make breeding difficult. That cause the young to be born sickly or not survive their first years. In 1990, there were 10. In 2000, there were 8. In 2010, there were 6. Now, in 2024, there are only 4. And none of them have successfully bred in over a decade. I've watched them weaken. Watched their communications become less frequent. Less complex. Watch the accumulated memory they carry begin to fragment. Fade. Like a library slowly burning. Books turning to ash one page at a time. They know they're dying. Know their species is ending. And they've accepted it with a grace I can barely comprehend. No panic. No desperate attempts to survive at any cost. Just quiet dignity. Continuation of their purpose for as long as they can. Holding on to the memory they carry until the very end. But they're also afraid. Not for themselves. For what they carry. For all that knowledge. All that history. They don't want it to die with them. Don't want millions of years of accumulated memory to simply vanish when the last of them stops breathing. That's why they chose me. Why they've been teaching me. Trying to transfer as much as they can to a human mind. Trying to preserve some fragment of what they carry in case their species doesn't survive. But human minds aren't built for this. We can't hold what they hold. Can't process information the way they process it. I've learned more in 38 years than any human should be able to learn. Seen things no one alive has seen. Understand history in ways that would revolutionize every field of human knowledge. But it's not enough. It's a fraction. A tiny percentage of what they carry. Like trying to empty an ocean with a teaspoon. I've saved something. But when they die, the vast majority of what they know will die with them. Unless we find a way to save them. To reverse the decline. To give them a future beyond the next few years. That's become my obsession. Not just protecting them from discovery, but finding a way to heal them. To restore what's been damaged. To give them a chance to survive and continue their purpose. I failed. I don't have the resources, the knowledge, the capabilities. I'm just one man. One dying man. And the problem is too large. Too complex. Too far beyond what I can solve alone. But maybe you can. Maybe someone watching this has the skills, the connections, the resources to do what I couldn't. To find a way to clean the water. To restore the balance. To give these creatures a future. If you're still watching, if you've made it this far, then you understand what's at stake. Not just for creatures in a Scottish loch, but millions of years of preserved memory. The history of this planet. the knowledge of civilizations that rose and fell before humans even existed. Subscribe to this channel. Share this confession. Find others who care, who understand, who might have the capabilities to help. Because I'm running out of time. And so are they. The creatures trusted me, gave me knowledge, showed me wonders beyond imagination. And I failed them. Failed to keep them safe. Failed to find a solution. Failed to ensure their survival. Don't let my failure be the end of their story. Don't let millions of years of memory die because one man wasn't enough. 3 weeks ago, I had what I believe will be my final communication with the creatures. My health had deteriorated too much. I couldn't dive anymore. Couldn't go down to the depths where they live. But they came to the shallows for me. Made the journey to where I could reach them from the shore. It was the oldest one. The matriarch. The one who first chose me in 1985. She's over 300 years old. Has carried the memory of her species through generations. Through centuries of hiding and surviving and watching humanity grow from scattered tribes to global civilization. She surfaced 20 feet from shore. Stayed there for 2 hours. And we communicated one last time. Not with the complexity we once had. Her strength was fading. But with enough clarity that I understood what she was telling me. She was saying goodbye. Not just to me, but to everything. She knew she was dying. Knew the species was ending. Knew that despite everything I'd done, despite 38 years of protection, it hadn't been enough. The decline was irreversible. The end was inevitable. But she also thanked me. Showed me gratitude for the years of watching. The decades of protection. The sacrifice I'd made. She understood what I'd given up. What I'd lost. And she wanted me to know it had mattered. That even though I'd failed to save them, I'd given them dignity. Time. A chance to end their existence on their own terms rather than in captivity or dissection. And then she showed me something I didn't expect. She showed me my daughters. Not literally, but through the memory she carried. The memory of a man standing on the shore in 1986. Watching the loch. Torn between two worlds. Two responsibilities. Two loves. She'd been there. Had watched me make the choice. Had seen my pain. My conflict. My sacrifice. And she wanted me to know that she'd understood. That the creatures had always understood what I'd given up for them. What I'd lost to become their guardian. She showed me Emma and Claire as I remembered them. 7 and 5 years old. Playing in the garden of our Aberdeen house. Laughing. Happy. Not knowing their father was about to disappear from their lives. And she showed me what they'd become. Grown women. Mothers themselves now. Living lives I'd never been part of. Lives that had gone on without me. The creature gave me that gift. That vision. That connection to what I'd sacrificed. Not to make me regret my choice, but to acknowledge it. To validate it. To show me that the sacrifice had been seen. Recognized. Honored. And then she gave me something else. A final gift. She transferred one memory. One specific event from the vast archive she carried. Something she wanted preserved in a human mind. Something she chose me to hold. I can't describe it fully. Human language isn't adequate. But it was a memory of the world when life first achieved consciousness. Millions of years ago. The first mind that could wonder, question, understand its own existence. The moment intelligence was born on this planet. She gave me that moment. Let me experience it. Let me feel what it was like when awareness first emerged from instinct. When the universe first looked at itself and understood what it was seeing. It was the most profound experience of my life. More meaningful than anything I'd ever felt. More important than any human experience could ever be. And she gave it to me because she wanted at least one memory, one fragment of what her species carried, to survive in a form that might persist after they were gone. That's what I hold now. That's what I carry in the months I have left. That first moment of consciousness. Preserved. Protected. Waiting to be shared before I die and take it with me. I need to say something to Emma and Claire. I don't know if they'll ever see this. Don't know if they even know I'm still alive. But I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I abandoned you when you needed a father. I'm sorry I chose something else over you. Something you couldn't see or understand or ever believe was real. I've thought about you every day for 38 years. Wondered what you looked like. What you were doing. Whether you were happy. Whether you hated me. Whether you even remembered me. The creature showed me you're both mothers now. That you have children of your own. And I hope you're better parents than I was. I hope you didn't abandon them the way I abandoned you. I hope you understand something I didn't understand when I left. That children need their father. That family matters. That personal relationships are important even when something larger calls to you. I made a choice. I chose to protect something I believed was more important than my own family. More important than my own daughters. And I still believe I made the right choice. Still believe that what I've been protecting, what I've been guarding, it matters more than individual human happiness. But that doesn't mean it didn't cost me. That doesn't mean I don't regret the price. I've lived alone for 38 years. Watched you grow up from a distance. Missed every important moment of your lives. Your graduations. Your weddings. The birth of your children. All of it gone. All of it sacrificed for something you'll probably never believe existed. The creatures are real. Everything I'm telling you is true. But I don't expect you to believe that. Don't expect you to understand why I left. Why I stayed away. Why I chose them over you. I just need you to know that I thought about you. Always. That leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done. And that even though I believe I made the right choice, I wish there had been another way. A way to be both your father and their guardian. A way to love you and protect them. A way to fulfill both responsibilities without destroying one to serve the other. But there wasn't. There never was. And I chose them. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything that choice cost you. Everything it took from you. Everything you deserved that I couldn't give. If there's anything after this life, if there's any way for me to see you again, to explain, to make you understand, I'll take it. But for now, all I have is this confession. This inadequate apology. This acknowledgement that I failed you as a father even as I succeeded as a guardian. I hope you've had good lives. I hope you've been happy. I hope my absence didn't damage you too much. And I hope someday, somehow, you'll understand why I made the choice I made. I love you. I always have. Even when I left. Even when I chose something else. Even when I stayed away year after year. I loved you. And I'm sorry that love wasn't enough to bring me home. I'm writing this final chapter from my cottage. I'm too weak to go outside now. Too sick to watch the loch the way I've watched it for 38 years. But I can see the water from my window. Can watch for any signs of activity. Can complete my guard even as my body fails. The creatures haven't surfaced in 2 weeks. That's longer than usual. Longer than I've ever seen. And I'm afraid. Afraid that they've already died. That the species ended while I was confined to this cottage. That I wasn't there to witness it. To honor it. To be present for the extinction of something that carried millions of years of accumulated memory. Or maybe they're still down there. Still alive. Waiting. Hoping that somehow, impossibly, someone will find a way to save them. To reverse the damage. To give them a future. I've done everything I could. Protected them for 38 years. Stopped 17 expeditions. Kept their existence hidden from a world that would exploit or destroy them. Sacrificed everything I was. Everything I loved. Everything I could have been. And it wasn't enough. The water still deteriorated. The population still declined. The species still approaches extinction despite all my efforts. Despite all my sacrifice. But I don't regret it. Even now. Even knowing I failed. I don't regret the choice I made. Because for 38 years, they had a guardian. For 38 years, they lived in dignity rather than captivity. For 38 years, they continued their purpose. Their memory keeping. Their witnessing of existence. And I was privileged to be part of that. Privileged to know them. To communicate with them. To carry even a small fraction of what they carry. To hold the memory of the first consciousness. The first moment of awareness. The first time the universe understood itself. That's what I'm taking with me. That's what I'll carry into whatever comes next. That one precious memory. That gift from a dying species to a dying man. That connection across millions of years. That proof that consciousness matters. That memory matters. That bearing witness to existence has value beyond survival or reproduction or any biological imperative. I'm asking you now, whoever is watching this, whoever has made it to the end of my confession, to continue what I started. Go to Loch Ness. Watch the water. Look for signs of them. And if you find them, if they're still alive, protect them. Guard them. Give them the dignity they deserve as they approach their end. Don't try to prove they exist. Don't try to capture evidence. Don't try to bring scientists or researchers or anyone who would turn them into specimens. Just watch. Just protect. Just let them finish their existence in peace. And if you have the knowledge, if you have the capabilities, if you have any way to clean the water, to restore what's been damaged, to give them a chance at survival, then do it. Do what I couldn't do. Save them. Save the memory they carry. Save millions of years of accumulated knowledge from extinction. I abandoned my family for this. Gave up my daughters. My wife. My entire life. And I did it because I believed these creatures, what they carry, what they represent, it was worth any sacrifice. Worth any cost. I still believe that. Even at the end. Even knowing I failed. Even facing death alone in a cottage with no one to mourn me. I still believe the choice I made was right. The creatures gave me purpose. Gave me meaning. Gave me something worth living for. Worth dying for. Worth sacrificing everything for. And if you're watching this, if you understand what I'm saying, if you feel even a fraction of what I've felt, then maybe you're the one. Maybe you're the next guardian. Maybe you'll succeed where I failed. The creatures are waiting. The memory is waiting. The responsibility is waiting. All it needs is someone willing to accept it. Someone willing to sacrifice everything for something most people will never believe in. Is that you? I hope so. Because time is running out. For them. For the memory they carry. For everything they represent. This is Colin Mackenzie, guardian of Loch Ness for 38 years. Father to daughters I abandoned. Husband to a wife I left. Keeper of the first memory of consciousness. I'm dying. But the watch continues. It has to continue. Someone has to take it up. Someone has to protect them. Someone has to ensure that when they finally die, it's with dignity. With honor. With someone bearing witness to the end of something magnificent. Let that someone be you. The creatures are waiting. And I'm going to join them soon. In whatever comes after. In whatever existence follows this one. But before I go, before I take that final breath, I'll watch the water one more time. I'll hope for a glimpse of them. I'll pray they're still alive. Still carrying their burden. Still witnessing existence. And I'll know that even though I failed to save them, I gave them something. 38 years of protection. Of dignity. Of respect. That has to be enough. Because it's all I have to give. Goodbye. To my daughters. To the creatures. To anyone who watched this confession. To the memory of the first consciousness. Goodbye. And thank you. For listening. For understanding. For caring about something that most people will dismiss as fantasy. The creatures are real. The memory is real. The sacrifice was real. And it was worth it. All of it. This epilogue is being added by Dr. Sarah Brennan, marine biologist. Colin Mackenzie died on March 15, 2025. He was found in his cottage overlooking Loch Ness. According to the locals, he died looking out at the water. Watching until the very end. I saw his confession online. Like many, I was skeptical. But something about his testimony, the depth of his conviction, the sacrifice he described, it compelled me to investigate. I traveled to Loch Ness. Spoke with locals. Learned about the strange man who'd lived alone for 38 years. Who'd never married. Never had visitors. Never spoke about his past. Who watched the water obsessively until the day he died. And I decided to look. To see if there was any truth to his claims. I spent 3 months conducting surveys. Using equipment he'd spent his life preventing others from using. And I found something. Anomalies in the deep water. Biological signatures that don't match any known species. Evidence of large animate objects in depths that shouldn't support life. I can't prove what they are. Can't verify Colin's extraordinary claims about memory keeping and accumulated knowledge spanning millions of years. But I can confirm something is down there. Something alive. Something real. I'm continuing his work. Not through protection or guardianship, but through research. Trying to understand what's causing the water deterioration. What's poisoning the ecosystem? What's threatening whatever lives in those depths? Maybe I can find solutions Colin couldn't find. Maybe I can save what he spent his life protecting. Or maybe I'll just document their extinction. Bear witness to the end of something we barely understood. Either way, Colin Mackenzie's confession will be remembered. His sacrifice acknowledged. His choice validated. He abandoned everything for something most people don't believe in. And he died alone, watching the water, hoping for one last glimpse of what he'd protected. I hope he got it. I hope they came for him. I hope his final moments held the connection he'd treasured for 38 years. Because if his story is true, if even a fraction of what he claimed is real, then he deserved that much. The creatures deserved that much. And humanity deserved the chance to know what we're losing. Rest in peace, Colin Mackenzie. Guardian. Father. Keeper of memories. Your watch is ended. But the story continues.